They used to be the picture of calm. Jamie Dornan and Amelia Warner. Two people who built their love quietly, far from the noise of Hollywood, choosing privacy over publicity, simplicity over spectacle. For years, it worked. Their marriage was a refuge, a secret world of laughter, children, and long walks far from the cameras. But even the strongest love can bend under the weight of silence. And slowly, theirs began to crack. Jamie had always been good at pretending everything was fine. On screen, he could be anyone, passionate, stoic, broken, whole. But off-screen, he had forgotten how to be himself. His schedule was relentless. Film sets, interviews, endless travel. Every goodbye to his family felt longer than the last. Amelia, patient and gentle, held things together. But behind her smile, the exhaustion showed. She missed the man who used to sing to her in the kitchen, the one who laughed at nothing and needed no one else. At first, the distance felt temporary. They told themselves it was just another phase, a busy year, a demanding project, the kind of sacrifice every relationship must make. But the truth was quieter, sadder. Somewhere along the way, they had stopped sharing their worlds. The connection that once came effortlessly now required effort neither of them knew how to give. It wasn't about anger or betrayal. It was something harder to name, the slow fading of intimacy. Jamie often came home late, his mind still half on the set, half on the next project. Amelia would ask how his day was, and he'd answer with a shrug. When she talked about the children, he listened but didn't really hear. And in those small, invisible moments, something precious began to slip away. The first time Amelia noticed it was during a quiet dinner. He was sitting across from her, staring at his plate, lost in thought. She asked what he was thinking. He smiled, said, "Nothing," and changed the subject. But she could feel the distance in the room, thick and suffocating. She didn't press, she just nodded, and in that silence, a tiny part of her heart broke. Jamie felt it too. He loved his wife, deeply, sincerely, but there was a heaviness he couldn't explain. He had spent so many years building his career, proving himself, surviving loss, that he didn't realize how much he had changed. The man Amelia fell in love with had been open, warm, spontaneous. Now, he was careful, cautious, always somewhere else. He hated himself for it. "I'm here," he'd tell her. But even he knew that being there physically wasn't the same as being present. The guilt gnawed at him. Guilt for the distance, for the exhaustion, for the quiet look in Amelia's eyes when she thought he wasn't watching. At night, when the house was quiet, Jamie would lie awake beside her, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing. He would turn over words in his mind. "I miss you. I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix this." But the words never came out. The next morning, the routine would continue. Breakfast, goodbyes, smiles for the kids, and silence for each other. It wasn't that the love had disappeared. It was still there, deep and complicated. But it had become heavy, like carrying something too beautiful for too long. Amelia once told a friend, "Love used to make me feel light. Now it feels like a weight I can't put down." Jamie sensed it, but he didn't know what to do. Every time he tried to bridge the gap, it felt awkward, like speaking a language they had both forgotten. He wanted to tell her how lost he felt, how much he missed the simplicity of their early years, before fame, before expectations. But the words stayed trapped behind pride and fear. Sometimes he'd catch Amelia watching him quietly, her expression unreadable. He wanted to reach for her hand, to say something, anything, that would make the silence go away. But he never did, and so they drifted, like two ships sailing the same ocean but moving in opposite directions. The world still saw them as perfect, the devoted husband, the loving wife, the beautiful family. No one saw the cracks forming beneath the surface. No one saw how, late at night, Jamie would sit alone in the living room, scrolling through old photos of them, whispering to himself, "What happened to us?" And then came the night when everything shifted. They were sitting by the window, the house quiet except for the faint hum of the city outside. Amelia was reading, Jamie staring out at nothing. The air between them felt heavier than ever. Finally, Amelia closed her book, looked at him, and said softly, "You're not here anymore, Are you? Jamie's throat tightened. He wanted to deny it, to say the right thing, but for the first time, he couldn't hide. He looked at her and felt the truth break through. Years of exhaustion, fear, love, and guilt crashing into one moment of clarity. And that night, Jamie Dornan finally decided to speak, not as the charming actor the world adored, not as the man who always had the right answer, but as a husband who no longer knew how to keep pretending. What he confessed next would change everything. He took a long breath before speaking, his voice barely above a whisper. "You're right," he said. "I'm here, but I'm not really here." The words hung in the air like smoke, fragile and irreversible. Amelia didn't respond at first. She just looked at him. The man she had loved for so long, the father of her children, the person she once called home, and waited for him to continue. "I don't know when it happened," Jamie said slowly. "But somewhere along the way, I lost something. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was us." His hands trembled slightly as he spoke. He wasn't the confident man from interviews, or the composed actor who could control every expression. He looked human, tired, honest, almost broken. "I keep trying to fix it," he said, "but the truth is, I don't know how. I don't even know if I can." Amelia's eyes softened. "Jamie," she said quietly, "you don't have to fix everything." But he shook his head. "I do," he said. "Because I made promises. Because I said I'd always be present, that I'd always protect us." He gestured around the room, their home, the pictures on the wall, the life they'd built. "And I meant it. God, I meant it. But I can't pretend anymore. I feel like I'm standing in a version of our life that doesn't fit me anymore, and I hate myself for even saying that." Tears filled Amelia's eyes, but she stayed calm. "You think I don't feel that too?" she asked softly. "I've been watching you fade for years, Jamie. I thought if I loved you hard enough, I could pull you back. But love doesn't work like that." Her voice broke on the last word. Jamie looked down, his jaw clenched. "I know," he said. "And I'm sorry. I think I kept holding on because I was too scared to face what letting go would mean. You've been my constant in a world that never stops moving. But maybe we've both been holding on to the memory of something that doesn't exist anymore." The room was silent except for the quiet ticking of a clock. Amelia reached for her glass of water, but her hands were shaking. "So what are you saying?" she asked, though she already knew. Jamie's voice cracked. "I think I'm saying that I love you. I will always love you. But maybe love isn't about holding on. Maybe it's about knowing when to let go." The words landed like a confession and a release all at once. Amelia closed her eyes, a single tear slipping down her cheek. "You're still the man I fell in love with," she whispered, "just not the same version of him." Jamie swallowed hard. "And you're still the woman who saved me," he said. "But I think I stopped knowing how to be the man you needed." Neither of them moved for a long time. The air between them was thick with everything they didn't say, the memories of laughter, the late-night talks, the moments when love felt easy. It wasn't gone, exactly. It had just changed form. What remained between them wasn't passion or resentment. It was something quieter, more fragile. Acceptance. Amelia finally stood, crossing the room. She stopped in front of him and reached out, resting her hand on his cheek. "You don't need to be sorry," she said gently. "We did our best. We built something beautiful, and if it's time to let it rest, then maybe that's okay." Jamie closed his eyes as she spoke. For the first time in years, he felt peace instead of guilt. It wasn't the ending he'd imagined. No shouting, no anger, no blame. Just two people who loved each other enough to tell the truth. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat on the edge of their bed, watching Amelia as she slept, her face soft in the moonlight. Every part of him wanted to reach out, to take it all back, to promise he could make things right. But he knew that love wasn't about promises anymore, it was about honesty. And honesty meant accepting that some stories don't last forever, even when the love does. When morning came, Amelia woke to find Jamie sitting by the window, the first light of dawn spilling across his face. He turned to her with a small, weary smile. "Thank you," he said. For what? She asked. For still believing in me, even when I stopped believing in myself. She nodded, unable to speak. There were no grand gestures, no final declarations. Just the quiet understanding that something had ended, and something else, maybe forgiveness or freedom, had begun. Later, when Jamie left the house, he paused at the door. He looked back once, at the life, the love, and the woman who had been his greatest chapter. Then he whispered, from love to letting go. And as the door closed softly behind him, the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was peaceful. The kind of silence that comes when two hearts finally stop breaking.